MFRS15. We're still in step 1, that is identifying contract. So when we refer back to step 1 here, okay, when contract asset means that when the right received is more than performance obligation, it means here that the business has performed the obligation, but the business may not have received the payment from the customer due to some condition. Okay, whereas contract liability is where the business has received the payment, okay, which we previously referred as consideration. The business has received the payment, yet the business has not performed transferring the goods or the service to the customer. So here it explains contract asset is when an entity satisfies a performance obligation by delivering the promised goods or service, which means the business has delivered the goods or the service but does not yet have an unconditional right to consideration. The business is not entitled to receive the right of the payment, probably because under the contract the business need to fulfill another performance obligation before the business can receive the payment. For example, when the other performance obligation must be satisfied before the entity can invoice the customer. Okay, for example, if let's say the performance obligation, there are two PO, performance obligation, there are two PO. So the company supply or sell product A and product B. So if let's say the company has delivered product A, at that point of time, the business are not entitled to receive payment from the customer, even though product A has been delivered, because under the agreement, until the company deliver product B, then the right to receive payment, okay, from the customer is there. So if let's say you have performed, the company has performed the obligation but are not entitled the right to receive payment, that is at that point of time it's considered as contract asset. Okay, account receivable, okay, should be recorded when no further performance obligation are required to be satisfied, which means that the company has fulfilled deliver the product or has delivered the service, and the entity has an unconditional right to receive consideration from the customer, which means when the company has fulfilled its obligation, then the customer should pay to the business, to the company. Okay, it's just that the customer has not paid yet. That's why we create account receivable, because the customer is owing to the business. Alright, and contract liability is when the customer performs first, which is prepaying its promised consideration. That means the company has not delivered the goods, has not performed the PO, okay, but the customer has made the payment. It's just like the concept of prepayment. Okay, so it is a prepaid revenue is considered as liability. So under the contract revenue, any prepayment that you receive from your customer, if you have not delivered the goods or provide the services, that will be considered as contract liability. Okay, let's look at first example. Now we will refer to the 5 steps in the MFRS 15 when we go through this question. On 1st March 2017, Orange Berhad enters into a contract to transfer a product to Simon on 31st July 2017. The contract is structured such that Simon is required to pay the full contract price of $5,000 on 31st August 2017. So the cost of the goods transferred is $3,000. Orange Berhad delivered the product to Simon on 31st July 2017. So prepare the journal entry. So firstly, to understand the situation, we need to identify the 5 steps in the question, in the example. Okay, so step 1 states identify the contract with the customer. Is there any contract in this question? Yes. Okay, so when the company enter into a contract, so this is considered as step 1. There is a contract. So we move to the second step, identify the performance obligation in the contract. What is the obligation of the business to the customer? That is to transfer the product to the customer, Simon. Okay, so this is step 2. Sorry, this is step 2. Okay, now step 3, determine the transaction price. So the contract is structured such that Simon is required to pay the full contract price of 5,000. So this is the transfer price. So this is step 3. Okay. Number 4, allocate the transaction price to the performance obligation in the contract. So like I explained in the last session, step 4 is depending on the step 2. Okay, when you identify the performance obligation. In this example, there is only one PO, which is to transfer a product. That means when the company has only one obligation, PO, that means you don't have to allocate the TP to different PO. So we skip number 4. That means number 3 is also number 4 lah. Alright, number 5, recognize revenue when the entity satisfy a performance obligation. Satisfy performance obligation means that when the company deliver the product. So the company deliver the product on 31st July 2017. So it means that on 31st July 17, the company can recognize it as revenue. Okay. So now we understand the 5 steps has been fulfilled. Okay. Alright. Let me just put here. Let me just put here. 3 and 4 is here as well. Okay. So now we have there are 5 steps. Now we want to prepare the journal entry to record the contract in 2017. We will only recognize the revenue on 31st July and 31st August. 31st July is because the company can recognize revenue when you deliver the goods, when the company delivered the goods, which is on 31st July 2017. And under the contract, the customer is required to pay on 31st August. Right? So on 31st August here, so you will see on 31st August you receive the money. Okay, all right. So now if we look at the journal entry on 31st July, you can recognize it as a revenue. So but you have not received the payment, therefore you will debit account receivable by the amount of the transfer price. The amount of transfer price here is 5,000. Okay, and then you recognize it as a revenue, so you credit sales revenue 5,000. And then the cost of goods transferred is 3,000. Okay, therefore you will debit the cost of goods sold 3,000 and credit inventory 3,000. Okay, and then when you receive money on 31st August, alright, you will receive your debit bank or cash 5,000 and you will close the account receivable 5,000. Okay, I hope you understand on that part. Okay, let's go to example 2. Alright, so again we will identify the 5 steps Is there any contract? In step 1, yes, enter into a contract. Okay, to transfer a product A and product B. So this is the PO. Sorry. Okay, this is the PO to transfer product A and product B. So this is step 2. Identify the PO. Determine the transaction price. Okay, so let's read the question. The contract specifies that payment of product A will not occur until product B is also delivered. That means after you deliver product A, even though you have fulfilled your PO, but you have no right to receive payment until you deliver product B. So payment will not occur until both product A and B are transferred to the customer. So Fin determined that the stand-alone prices are 30,000 for product A and 70,000 for product B. But where is the transfer price? This is the the transaction price. 100,000 is transaction price. So this is step number 3, identify the transaction price. But because you have two PO, there is PO, your PO1 is deliver product A, okay, and your PO2 is deliver product B. Okay, so when you have two PO, you need to do step 4, that is to allocate the transaction price to the performance obligation. Alright, so how do you do that? Maybe we can see in the next slide. Is there any more? Okay, I'll show it here. Okay, so why don't we insert a table? Okay, so now the standalone price for each PO. Okay, so product A is 30,000 and product B is 70,000. So it makes a total of 100,000. Sorry, and the total standalone price is RM 100,000. Okay, alright. Now, how do you allocate the transfer price? Again, the transaction price. Okay, the transaction price is RM 100,000 here. Okay, so when you allocate the transaction price to product A, that will be standalone price for A divided by the total standalone price times with the transaction price. Of course, it will be 30,000. Okay, and for product B will be standalone of product B divided by the total standalone times with the transaction price. So you will have 70,000. Of course, you see from this example, it came back to the answer. It came back to transaction price, but basically this is how you calculate the allocation. Not necessarily you will get back to the price, the standalone price. Okay, it just happened that the total of standalone is equal to the transaction price. So this is the allocation. All right. I'm gonna find. Okay. So these are the revenue. Okay, for product A and product B. And so number 4. Okay, you have to allocate the transaction price. And number 5, when you deliver the product that is fulfilling your PO, you deliver product A on product A, you deliver on product A, deliver on 1st February. So you fulfill, you can recognize revenue for product A on 1st February, and you deliver product B on 1st March. So you will recognize product B, revenue from product B on 1st March. Okay, so now we look at the journal entry. Okay, now on 1st February, is referring to here when you deliver product A. So you will only recognize it as revenue when you deliver the product, when you fulfill your PO, yeah, your performance obligation. So 1st February, you recognize your revenue for product A. So the allocated price for product is 30,000. Okay, 30,000 here. So this is 30,000. And we debit contract asset. Why do we debit contract asset? Because we have delivered the goods. That means we deserve the revenue, but we don't have the right to receive the payment. We cannot debit account receivable because at this point the customer is actually not obligated to pay to us even though we have delivered the product, because under agreement we only deserve the payment, we deserve to receive the payment when we deliver product B. So at this time, when we have fulfilled the PO, we have to debit contract asset because we are not entitled to receive the payment yet. Okay, so on 1st March you have, okay, we have delivered product B to the customer. Therefore, we will close contract asset, we credit 30,000, and then when we deliver product B, revenue for product B is 70,000 here, so we credit 70,000 and the customer need to pay 100,000. So we debit account receivable because we have not received the cash yet. Therefore, on this date, the customer is owing to us 100,000. Alright, to be continued.